right, good morning. I think we are ready to start. First of all, thank you for being here. I've seen a lot of you the past few days, which is great. Appreciate all the coverage for the schools. I want to begin by introducing, first of all, Sheriff Dennis Lima. Appreciate you being here. School Board Chair Tina Calderon, Captain Rick Francis, Lieutenant Kelly Martin, and Lieutenant Eckstein. Appreciate you all being here. These are our partners in school safety, and I would never even speak about school safety without having them present. So let me begin just by filling you in a little bit on some of the things that we are working on. I have to begin with some bragging rights. Seminole County Public Schools, we're celebrating our 20th A rating. We earned 7 state athletic championships last year, and our arts programs continue to flourish with superior ratings in every performing and visual art that you can imagine. And that's an important part of who we are. Everybody who works with us knows there are 3 common denominators in Seminole County Public Schools, and there have been for a long time. Number 1 is safety, number 2 is relationships, and then number 3 is achievement. I want to ask everybody who has a child at our school and all our community members who drive in our community to keep an eye out for those school buses, make sure you stop when the lights are on, and follow all those procedures. I've also asked all our parents, where possible, to please put your children on the bus and walk them to school. Car lines and traffic do cause some safety issues for us, and we want to make sure we have as few cars as possible on our campuses so that we continue to be safe. We have a great relationship with our Sheriff's Department, and we are celebrating our 4th year of having a school resource officer on each and every campus. This year we have added 2 and sometimes 3 to our larger campuses. We think it's important not only for safety, but for the relationships, the education, and the value that they bring to our students each and every day. I can't think of anything more important for a child than to grow up in a positive environment with the school resource officer, to really understand and have somebody they trust and they can go to for matters, personal matters, matters that they're concerned about, or whatever. We have a lot of active safety measures in place. Some of them are visible, some are not. Some of the visible items, of course, are improved fencing, thanks to our school board for investing $27 million over the past 6 years in school safety. Locked doors, sign-in procedures. Our staff members all have a soft panic app that they could use, and everyone is empowered to lock down a campus anytime that they're concerned about a situation that needs to be looked into. I appreciate our Sheriff's Department and our local agencies for continuing to deliver our focus education program at our elementary schools and now expanding it to our secondary schools. We have a threat assessment team at every single school, and what that means is when a threat comes in, we check every single thing out with a trained group of professionals to make sure we're doing all the things that we need to do and figure out if it's substantiated or non-substantiated, and then take it from there. We had many threats last year that were simply a hoax, and I have to tell you, they're not a joking matter. There's nothing funny about wasting professionals' time, upsetting a community, and that they are dealt with appropriately and when we resolve it. I have asked all of our parents to please help us with social media. Last year we had a few incidents where parents, meaning well, and community members would go on social media and report an open gate. A safety concern they have at a school. Please pick up the phone and contact us, contact the school administration, but social media is not the place for school safety. School safety, it should be done privately and quietly with us and with our school administrators. This past year I had the pleasure of holding a student forum at every single high school, and the topic was school safety. And the students have a lot that they like to share with us. And we spoke certainly about the hardening of campuses, the things that I mentioned earlier, but the students quickly moved our conversation to the softening of campuses. And that's what we are focusing on very, very heavily this year. Focusing on softening campus means that we are talking about relationships. Students told us, hands down, there is nothing more important related to school safety than every single student on every campus having an adult that they can turn to talk to discuss a problem. It's the isolation that they believe causes some of the problems. Students want to make sure that every other student on campus and adult on campus knows how to report something that they are concerned about. We spent a lot talking about mental health and the difference between mental health and mental illness. We have mental health counselors available to all of our students every single school day. It's important that students know where to go when they need support. Sometimes they bring a problem to school from home. Sometimes it's about a peer, but we have several different venues for students to report and talk to adults. Students spoke to us about drills versus training. They think it's important that we do practice for emergencies, but they also reminded us they don't need to do the same practice over and over and over, that instruction is just as valuable and that they will pay attention. We learned from the students that training has to be different at different levels. It has to be age appropriate. This year we rolled out a training video for elementary students that I think is really, really appropriate for them. We're also talking this year a lot about vaping. I brought our students to a student forum, actually to our Leadership Academy this year. There's a 78% increase in high school students that are vaping. I will tell you that we are piloting throughout our schools vape detectors. Vape detectors are different from smoke detectors. They're more sensitive and pick up when students are vaping. But I will tell you that the students were crystal clear to us at the student forums that many students think that vaping is a safer alternative to smoking. It's not. And we have a lot of education to provide our students, but also our adults, so we can learn more about the dangers of vaping. But vaping is not allowed in schools, and we really encourage our parents to learn a little bit about vaping and have some serious conversations with their students. This year, we're rolling out a video to teach all of our students the Heimlich maneuver. There are many deaths across the nation, across the world every single year related to choking. So we have a very short video that we're going to roll out to our students. Again, this is at student request, at our student forums. Teach us, everybody, the Heimlich maneuver. So we have a lot going on with school safety. Car lines, school safety, social media, but I can tell you I can't do any of this and cannot manage the district without the full cooperation, support, and the great relationship that we have with the sheriffs and the sheriff's department. So at this time, it's my pleasure and honor to introduce to you the Sheriff of Seminole County, Dennis Lima.
Thank you so much, Superintendent. And the chemistry and the relationship that we have has really allowed Seminole County to be a best practice model example for the nation. I am so proud of the men and women of the Seminole County Sheriff's Office, as well as our municipal partners, our police chiefs that are providing safe and secure school campuses day in and day out. I think we've mentioned this before, that having a dedicated law enforcement officer on every single public school campus in Seminole County is not something new. I mean, this is something that we've done now for nearly 5 years. And this past school year, we've actually expanded with 8 additional deputy sheriffs on the various campuses. And when I talk about the various campuses, I'm talking about the charter schools as well as all of the public campuses. As we find our state kind of in a hurry to find qualified law enforcement officers to fill that capacity, and in some jurisdictions going a different option with that, with safety officers or various guardians, we have always felt that in Seminole County, the greatest solution for us is to have a dedicated, fully trained, proficient law enforcement officer filling into those capacities. I also think that it's interesting to note that very rarely do we have any new members of the Sheriff's Office that are actually assigned to schools. These are veteran law enforcement officers that have, in many cases, brought more than a decade of training and experience to this capacity, and they have a passion to serve and work with kids. And I think that that's kind of important to kind of underscore that, because in a concentrated focus on school security, which is always our priority, the men and women who serve in these capacities on our Seminole County schools are doing a lot more than just being that added safety barrier. They're a resource for faculty, staff, students, and their family members. In many cases, they are teaching curriculums of issues that children are facing today. And they're a resource for our full-time law enforcement officers that are working in neighborhoods, because I think that we can all recognize that sometimes things that occur in a particular neighborhood can then bleed over to the school campus. To echo the superintendent's comments on safety, I think that we kind of get accustomed to commuting and driving during summer months. I know that I do as well. And then in the last couple of days, you see a lot of big buses and about 70,000 people going to one of 70-something locations all at one time. So I would ask people to bring with you your patients. For some of these campuses, there are new parents that are dropping and trying to become accustomed to the drop-off and pick-up procedures. So give us a few days to work out the details and make sure that we're informing all of those motorists that are out there on the roadway. As you see the campuses, you'll not only see our school resource deputies and police officers on those campuses, you'll also see our crossing guards throughout Seminole County. And we have a couple of hundred crossing guards here, and quite literally, they are the crossing guard program of the year, 5 out of the past 6 years throughout the state. But they're there to guide and provide a resource to those kids so they can safely walk back and forth across the streets. As we're also driving, I want people to be mindful of the school bus procedures. And those big bus carrying those little precious children are going to be stopping, and they're going to be putting those stop bars out. So when you see that stop bar, don't try to go around, because we are going to be proactively and aggressively looking for people who are violating that rule. Don't pass school buses. I think that we all know better than doing that. So don't get in a hurry and don't try to pass those school buses. Parents, as you're sitting there at home, and I want to encourage you to have that difficult conversation with your children. I know that they're going to be bringing home study and classwork and all of that, and you're going to be there assisting them with those studies. But I also want to have those conversations, or I want you to have those conversations with your children about safety on the campus as well. Small things like, sometimes walking around the campus with earbuds in your ears, we want to kind of not encourage that. We want you to be able to hear any communication that is going on our campuses and be alert and aware to those conditions. Inevitably, there'll be some threats that are made across the state and even here in Seminole County. The majority of those threats will have no validity to them whatsoever, and they will be hoax. I promise you, if there's ever a real or credible threat, you'll see the superintendent, myself, a police chief, or Captain Rick Francis, who I feel is the best in the business when it comes to school safety and security. He and his team do an absolutely remarkable job, and we're so proud to have you here. But don't get caught up in that. Don't feel that just because you read something on social media that I can't send my children to school. If there's ever a credible threat, you'll see us, I promise you. It's better to over-communicate than under-communicate these issues. And kind of on the back end, if there is a threat that's made, what we do is not only involve the school campus and our school resource deputies, but we have a domestic security division that is fully dedicated to properly and thoroughly investigate any threat that is made. So if there's a threat that's made involving a particular student on campus, not only do we investigate that during the school with the school resource staff and the school staff, but our domestic security quite literally works that case around the clock, usually ending up in the child's bedroom, talking to mom and dad or their guardian to ensure that there's full and complete safety. So a lot of things going on. I know as a dad of 2 Seminole County Public School boys, my oldest is in high school, my youngest is safety patrol and in elementary school in 5th grade. I've got 2 days under my belt with successfully getting them out, and I'm so proud of the relationship that we have, superintendent, and the quality of service that we provide to our children day in and day out. Now it's my honor. We could not do this without the partnership, not only with the superintendent, but with our wonderful, fabulous school board members. So I'd like to introduce the chair of our school board, Dr. Tina Calderon.
Thank you, Sheriff Lima, and thank you for the wonderful collaborative relationship that we have. Not only do we develop relationships every single school day between our students and our faculty, but also our law enforcement, and that means so very much. I had the distinct honor yesterday to visit every single high school campus with the superintendent and Captain Francis. And as a parent, a few things stood out to me. First and foremost, there were phenomenal relationships being built between our students, among our students, and with our faculty and staff. There was a lot of love and caring, and that's where the softening of our campuses come from. People felt safe, people were enjoying being there on the first day of school, but one thing stuck out to me as a mother. Many of our students did have 2 earbuds in their ears, and I'd encourage all the moms and dads out there tonight at the dinner table to discuss the potential for our students not to have those 2 earbuds in. If Captain Francis and his team determines that there is an emergency on campus, we want all of our children to be able to hear any type of announcement that we're making. Secondarily, I'd like to encourage our parents to talk to their children about if you see something, say something. Talk to an adult on campus. Let us investigate it for you. We want to make sure that all of our staff members, our teachers and our students stay safe every single day on campus. And thirdly, make sure that our children, if you have children in the secondary levels, have them put their cell phone level numbers into our Skyward system. Allow our children in middle school and high school to get those emergency text messages just like you as parents do, so we all know exactly what is happening, exactly when it is happening. We look forward to a very successful and safe school year, and without further ado, I'd like to introduce our Captain Francis.
It's always wonderful going behind such great leaders in our community and speak. This year is no different from any other of our past years. School safety remains our top priority. This is not a knee-jerk reaction in Seminole County. We've taken large steps to ensure our kids are safe and our campuses remain safe. As we transition through the year, this year we're really concentrating on those soft things like Dr. Griffin mentioned. In my opinion, school culture is our ultimate responsibility to continue to improve, that individuals, when parents drop them off at the school, that they feel connected to the school and part of that school culture. Thank you for your time.
I'd now like to open it up to any questions you might have for any of us. Yes, ma'am.
Could you discuss the apps that you guys have? I know the Rave app and then the P3.
Sure.
How are you guys going to kind of discuss those apps and make sure that students are
Absolutely.
aware about them?
So we're very fortunate to have a superintendent and school board that believes in our mission and has supported every technology safety device that we brought forward. And that was actually day one priority for me, was to bring that Soft Panic app to our teachers. We have 8,000 employees in our schools, and we wanted them to have the ability to lock a school down. So our first technology that we added was the Rave Soft Panic button, which is coupled with mutual links. So at the push of a button, there's automatic notification sent out throughout the campus and many other layers throughout the superintendent's office, the sheriff's office, our city partners, and our emergency managers. And that's also when that button is pushed, declaring an emergency. Even our patrol units and stuff like that are getting that message. And what's important, the average dispatch call throughout the United States for a priority call is 45 seconds. We can get it done in 1.5 seconds. So that patrol person driving down the road, like for example, we're outside this school, would get that message before he went through to dispatch and can address accordingly. The nice thing about our relationship with Mutual Link is that connects to the school camera. So we have immediate situational awareness as we move forward to address that incident. The second is our P3 campus, and that actually has been an app that we've had for numerous years, is our anonymous tip reporting systems, which we fully believe is the best foot forward for our students to make sure that if there's anything on campus that they don't think is suspicious or concerning, they report it through the app. Every time Dr. Griffin and myself is in front of students, the first question we have is, do you have this app on your phone? And we're encouraging our principals and our parents to push that app. And lastly, last year we added Raptor Reunification, which is a digital platform to help us reunify in the worst case scenario. All these apps, with the exception of P3, the Rave, and the Raptor, we hope we never have to use in a real world situation, but we're going to continue to test them. We believe that Raptor reunification is going to take that worst case scenario and be able to speed up that reunification with parents.
With that Rave app though, how does that work? All faculty, all teachers will have it, they can access it. If they're in lockdown, let's say, they can maybe check in and
yeah,
see
so
if students are okay.
And actually, it was used beautifully today. We lost power at one of our high schools, and they used the staff assist function to talked to all their teachers because they lost power, intercom, telephone, et cetera, and they were able to communicate through the RAVE platform to make sure everybody was on schedule, send the schedule out. They modified the schedule a little bit. We're able to continue on with business. So the way the process works is there's 5 buttons on the RAVE app. They're very user-friendly. An active threat, for example, is the big red button. They hold it down for 1.5 seconds. It connects to 911. And then it sends out those notifications. So anybody on campus is getting that with many layers thereafter. And if there's a real-world situation, we're able to communicate back through that same app to the end user. So, for example, if we're in a protracted lockdown, we're able to notify the staff that, hey, this is a real-world incident, or it appears to be a hoax, please stand by, or, hey, there's going to be a knock at your door, and it's law enforcement, whatever the case may be.
Yes, I heard there was a incident at Lake Brantley. Was that one of the hoaxes that you were speaking of?
The Lake Brantley there was on the post, there was nothing tied to the school other than it being a former student.
Okay.
And that's been minimized, excuse me. Yes, ma'am.
So with the vape sensors, how many of those are we going to see? Are they going in all schools? And what was the cost of that?
The cost is roughly $1,000 per sensor. Obviously, the more quality and quantity you buy, that price will obviously go down a little bit. Right now, it's in a proof of concept mode, so we are just testing it out. So far, the results have been very well. We're not going to disclose what schools they're in or what they're not in, but we're obviously targeting our secondary schools.
You talked a lot about information you gleaned from students, I believe, in forums. Explain a little bit more about that process. How many forums did you hold, and was this a new thing, or do you do the forums every year?
Yeah, I do student forums every year, but I formalized it this year. I bring one board member with me, and Captain Francis and the sheriff is always invited. And the topic this year, we discuss as adults what would be a relevant topic, and we bring that to our student leaders before I do the student forums, and student safety was hands down the most popular topic. I do these every year. We did it at all 9 high schools this year. This year, for 1920, I have the 9 high schools scheduled, and now some of the middle schools. And I even have the 2 elementary school principals who have asked for us to do forums. But student voice is really important, and the students don't come to us complaining. They really bring solutions, and I need to find out from them all the time what their perception is of things that are happening and how we can best communicate with them and what we can learn from them. It was so successful. Every year I have a leadership conference for all of the leaders in the district. I actually did a live student forum in front of all of our leaders this year so they could hear student voice.
How many students participated? How many forums were there?
There were 9 high school forums this year, and they varied in size, I'd say from 16 to 30, depending on the school. In some schools, I went back a second time, but they were scheduled 1 for each high school originally.
In terms of just the softening that you were talking about as well.
Yes.
Are you going to be bringing in more people that if they wanted to talk to someone else? I know that you guys have, guidance counselors and things like that, but do you have anyone else that, you're going to be bringing in?
Yeah, first of all, there's already a lot of adults on campus, and working with every adult on campus to make sure that they're available when students have a concern or a question, and they know what to do. So if a student walked up to their math teacher and said, I have a concern about this, it's not so much that that teacher has to solve the problem, but they know where to refer the student to. So we do have our layer of guidance counselors. Of course, we have our administrators that are all trained, but I'm also proud to say we also have a mental health counseling team of 13 who move from school to school as necessary. We've also added last year a director of school guidance. So our guidance services are better planned, our guidance counselors are better trained, and it's more about referring and getting students to the right places.
In terms of the softening of the schools, how well do you feel that's working so far?
I think it's going very well. This is my 8th year as superintendent, and every single year I've spoken about relationships because it's important. And I believe those of us who have been in this field for a long time understand there's nothing more important to a successful school district. I think safety has just really heightened the awareness of the importance of relationships, and I think everybody is about good relationships. It helps. Look at the relationship we have here. I mean, it makes all the difference.
One quick takeaway, just making sure we're on the same page. You said there's an SRO on each and every campus. You added 2 or 3 to the larger campuses? Is that
That's
right?
correct. That's correct.
Was that 8 more added in total, or?
What was the captain? I don't remember the total.
So because of the expansion in our population in middle school, we added middle school additional officers and deputies. So for us, for Seminole County Sheriff's Office, that was 4, and for the larger municipalities, they added 1 as well. And what they do is that we have the dedicated person on that middle school, and we have what we consider a float. We'll bounce between 2 different middle schools, and they, depending on need and stuff like that. We also added at the high school level, all 9 high schools, we added additional 3rd SRO or SRD. And what that person is obviously if there's to be on that high school campus. However, if we have, for example, an elementary SRD or SRO that calls out, they can utilize that person, because I'd rather utilize an SRD SRO that's properly trained than pull someone off the road and put them in there. Not that that's a bad thing, but we'd rather have that, because we're in Seminole County. Our officers and deputies are assigned to our school, go through roughly about 18 different training classes and stuff like that. So we're from de-escalation, autism, all the way down to a day with our SWAT guys.
I think there's one other interesting thing to point out when it comes to these hoax threats. If you're making a threat of violence on a school campus, not only is everyone going to talk negatively about you in the community, we're going to put you in jail. And I don't know, every year we see it where people doubt our ability to actually track down who you are. It's typically minutes before we are able to track down who the offenders are. And in today's day and age of technology, it doesn't take long. So save yourself some time and energy. Don't do that because we're going to track you down and we're going to hold you accountable for doing that. I think that that's the expectation that we have as a society. I think as parents and as law-abiding people, we want people to be held accountable for what they do. So don't do it, and don't think that you can get away with it, because we will put you in jail.
Anything else? If not, thanks for a great morning, and thanks for helping us support the great things that are happening in Seminole County Public Schools.